So, most of you probably know me as the Family Gal, or even the Simpsons girl if you watch my other channel. But way before then, my TV time was mostly taken up by a whole different show. The Rugrats. I had all the movies, watched all of the episodes in repeat, and spent long car journeys absolutely losing my mind over the Rugrats Game Boy game. I mean, did anyone ever come first in that damn reptile racing level? If so, let me know in the comments. And while Tommy Pickles was undoubtedly the star of the Rugrats, my favourite was always little Chuckie Finster. And it wasn't just because I looked like him as a kid. You see, I was always the overly cautious kid, and what Chuckie did so well was show just how scary the world seemed to us as kids when our imaginations took over, whether we were conquering impossibly tall slides or the monsters under our bed. Chuckie also had the most depth and evolution of any character, with his heartbreaking story of losing his mum so early to then gaining a brand new loving sister and a new mummy.
I guess I'm lucky. I got 2 mommies to look after me now.
So yes, the other babies had that unshakable spirit, but Chuckie had our hearts. So let's get right into it. This is the complete timeline of Chuckie Finster. So let's start way before little Chuckie was even born, with his father, Charles Norbert Finster, who was raised by his parents, Marvin and Shirley Finster. And like Chuckie, Chaz came off as quite the shy guy, but even still, he had enough charm to impress a beautiful gardener called Melinda. And the rest was history. They got married, and they also had a son called Charles Crandall Norbert Finster Jr., who we all know as Chuckie. But unfortunately, she soon fell ill. And it was during this time she made a teddy bear called Wawa for Chuckie and also wrote a poem to him. But it wouldn't be until season 4's Mother's Day when Chuckie would finally find out the full story about his mum and what she wrote to him. In the episode, the babies are celebrating Mother's Day, but Chuckie feels left out because he doesn't have a mum.
You guys go ahead. Mother's Day is for kids who got moms.
So they try to find alternatives for him to fill the void, but Angelica, being Angelica, exploits this in order to make Chuckie her servant. And it's while the babies are trying to escape from Angelica that they discover a box of Melinda's belongings that Chaz gave to Dee Dee in order to look after. And when Chuckie finds the picture of his mom, he instantly recognizes her as the woman from his dreams. So he goes to show his dad. And at first, Chaz is upset by the discovery as he wanted to shield Chuckie from finding these possessions and therefore missing his mum. But Dee Dee soon encourages Chaz to talk to Chuckie about Melinda. So together, Chaz explains why she went away, goes through her gardening tools, her journal, and finally reads Chuckie his poem explaining that she'll always be there for him in spirit. This not only gave Chuckie the love and understanding he needed, but it also gave Chaz the opportunity to talk about the woman he loved so openly with his son.
See, guys? I do have a mom. She's right here in the flowers.
So, although the original Rugrats aired for 9 seasons and over 13 years, none of the characters aged. And Tommy, he didn't grow another single hair on his head. Basically, the show's 327 segments and 3 feature films all took place within less than a year. So during the show, Chuckie is at the stage of transitioning from an infant into a toddler, and being the eldest of the babies, he had to try out plenty of new things he didn't feel ready for, one being, of course, learning to use the potty.
They're trying to make me... Oh, I can't say it.
The parents try their best at helping Chuckie, but hours go by and he sits there doing nothing. That is until he finally gets off.
Uh-oh.
The poor guy is tortured by the not knowing if he needs to go, and he even has nightmares about it. But finally, after waking up from one, he discovers he has to go. He puts on a brave face and finally uses the potty. Bravo, Chuckie, bravo. Another big boy milestone came in season 3 with Chuckie's first haircut. After freaking out at the barbershop, Chaz and Chuckie's friends try to convince him that haircuts don't hurt, while of course, Angelica says they do.
It's gonna hurt real bad.
Chaz even tries to help Chuckie by letting him cut his own hair, but he winds up cutting off too much and freaks out. Eventually, Chuckie decides to just get it over and done with since he can't be afraid forever, and he actually ends up enjoying it.
Yep, and it didn't hurt one bit. Wow!
And one last new thing that Chuckie had to get used to was sleeping in the big boy bed, which of course he wasn't too happy about. You see, Chuckie thinks there's monsters living underneath it, but after a few restless nights and scary situations, Chuckie finally checks and discovers that the monster living under his bed is actually his dad's sweater. A situation I'm sure we can all resonate with. I mean, I still look at piles of clothes in my bedroom at night and imagine it's Jason or something. It's not a rarity. And one thing I can say about Chuckie on second viewing is that I don't feel he was as much of a scaredy cat as I did when I watched it as a kid. He was the eldest, so had to be the first one to conquer these big boy stuff. Chuckie is also the one that has to go in blindly to go through these new experiences, and he conquers them every single time.
How'd you overcome your fear? I just did it, that's all.
Not dismissing the fact that he had to suffer through one of the biggest emotional upheavals of losing a loved one. Chuckie is a kid that has had to deal with a whole lot in his first 2 years of life. And it has to be said that a season before the iconic Mother's Day special, we saw Chuckie tackle the subject of grief on a much smaller scale, quite literally. In season 3's I Remember Melville, Chuckie finds a pet pill bug, or a monkey pea, or a pea bug, whatever you like to call those animals. Anyway, he absolutely loves the guy, and he calls him Melville and trusts the twins to watch him while he searches for a leaf. But while he's away, the baby soon notice that Melville has suddenly died. They attempt to replace him with a snail, but Chuckie notices, and he's not too happy.
Oh yeah, your bug died. What? Melville! Melville!
Chuckie is lost without Melville, so Tommy, Phil and Lil organise a funeral so Chuckie can remember all the good times they had together.
From now on, when I remember Melville, I'm gonna be happy.
And knowing what we know about Chuckie's mother, it really does reason why Chuckie would take this loss so hard. And saying that, season 3 had so many good Chuckie-centric episodes, especially Chuckie's Wonderful Life. Yeah, the Rugrats did really have their own spin-off of the holiday classic, and Chuckie was the perfect George Bailey. When Chuckie had an argument with his friends, he wishes he'd never been born, but a guardian angel appears and shows him what life would be like if this came true. So Chaz was all alone talking to his sock puppets, Phil and Lil became absolutely rotten kids, Tommy was forced to live on his own, and Angelica made Stu and Dee Dee her servants. And as far-fetched as these scenarios seemed, it did make us realise why Tommy needs a friend like Chuckie to be brave, because Chuckie always had his back. And by the end of it, Chuckie wakes up and realises just how important he is to his friends and family. And just before we go into the Rugrats movie, I think it's very important to bring up season 4's Clan of the Duck, where Chuckie and Phil try on dresses for the first time and they enjoy it. And even when they're bullied for it by other kids, it just made them realise how adults can dress differently too.
If the mommies can wear pants and grown-ups can wear diapers, how come we can't wear dressies?
Talk about being ahead of its time for challenging gender norms. But before we talk about the iconic Rugrats in Paris, I'd first like to say a big thank you to this video sponsor, Raycon. I've genuinely been using my Raycon everyday earbuds every day for the past year, so I'm so happy to be working with them. And I use them every day for around an hour and a half while at the gym, and I honestly don't charge them very often. They've also made it easier for me to get into good habits, like getting in my daily walk to get out of the house. They also come in a range of colours, and I got them in black for my husband as a birthday gift. And he's a real sound nerd, so he loves the 3 different sound profiles. Pure for podcasts, balance for the everyday, and bass for his heavy hip-hop workout playlist. The everyday earbuds come with custom gel tips to make sure they fit into your ears perfectly and comfortably, and they're so comfortable that I actually use them as earplugs on my flight recently, as the noise isolation mode totally blocks out any sound of the engine or the drunk guy sitting next to me. The noise isolation mode is automatically set when you put on the earbuds, but when you want awareness mode, you just simply click on the right earbud for 3 seconds. And they're half the price of other premium audio brands. So, are you ready to buy something small with a big impact? If so, click the link in the description of this video or go to buyraycon.com/timelines to get 15% off your Raycon purchase. While the Rugrats movie was a solid film, it's undeniable that Rugrats in Paris was in a whole different league. I love this film, and this time, Chucky's the leading little guy. The film starts with Grandpa Lou's and Lulu's wedding, and during the party, the DJ plays a song specifically for all the kids and their mums, and this of course bums poor Chuckie out, since his has passed, so he decides to use his wish to the Bob father, aka Angelica, for a brand new one. Chaz is also feeling lonely at this point and decides it's finally time for him to find a new love and a new mother figure for Chuckie. Later on, Stu is summoned to Euro Reptar Land in Paris to repair his robotic reptar for the park's stage show, and the whole gang go with him. Meanwhile, the park's ambitious boss Coco wants to become the next president of the Reptar Corporation, but one of the requirements for the job is to love kids, which she doesn't.
Jean-Claude, call the dog catcher! The exterminator, do something!
So she decides to make up a story to her boss that she's engaged to a man with a kid, and Angelica eavesdrops on this conversation and tells her that Chaz Finster is a single father looking for love. Coco thinks this is perfect and quickly gets to work on seducing Chaz, but Chuckie sees right through her facade. The person he wants to be his mom is Reptar Land's fictional princess. Coco finds this out and poses as the princess herself in order to trick Chuckie into approaching her. Chaz sees this as a sign that he should marry Coco, and wedding bells soon start to ring.
I think Chuckie and I are both in love.
So on the day of the ceremony, Coco gets her assistant to lock the kids in the warehouse to stop them from causing trouble. But they rally together to break out the giant reptile robot suit in order to crash the wedding just in time.
Chuckie?
At the cathedral, Jean-Claude accidentally reveals Coco's plans, and Chaz calls the whole wedding off. It turns out that the woman he was really destined for was in front of him all along, Coco's assistant, Kira Watanabe. She was a fellow single parent to baby Kimmy, and Kira, she was kind, tender, and a doting mother figure, perfect for Chaz and Chuckie. They got married shortly after returning to the States, and by the end, Chuckie's wish really came true, and he got 2 mums, one in heaven and one at home. And although the later seasons with Kimmy and Kira were classics in their own right, I feel that Rugrats in Paris would have been the perfect ending to this series. Now, after watching this movie again, I really want to do a video just on this movie and explain why it's so underrated and perhaps my favourite TV show based movie ever. So if you want to see that, then please let me know in the comments. In the aftermath of Rugrats in Paris, we already see Chuckie taking advantage of him now being able to talk to adults in season 7, even if it is just one word.
You ever gonna amount to anything, Chuck?
No.
And as happy as Chuckie seemed to have a stepmother and sister, he was still a little apprehensive, especially when Chaz read him Cinderella. Chuckie freaked out that he also had a stepmother and stepsister and imagines how he could be treated just like Cinderella. And later parallels come into it when he's not invited to a party that everyone else was, making him compare to how Cinderella wasn't invited to the ball. But luckily, Kimmy and Kira managed to reassure him.
I bet he was excited when he heard about the party. Surprise!
The episode's ending is super sweet too, with Chaz announcing that he's adopted Kimmy, and Kira announcing that she's adopted Chuckie, thus making Kira and Kimmy more than just stepmother and stepsister.
We want the world to know that we're a family.
As mentioned, it's absolutely crazy how much Chuckie and his mates accomplished all within a year. So once the original series came to an end, we didn't even get to see Chuckie celebrate his 3rd birthday. But fortunately, in the 1-hour special in season 7 called All Grown Up, we do get a glimpse of what Chuckie is like at 11. And Chuckie, being a year older than the rest of the gang, is the first to be shown having a crush. But not just on any girl, but Angelica's BFF, Samantha. And while we're not exactly sure that the events in All Grown Up actually happened, since it ends with the presumption that the babies imagine the entire thing by the end of the episode, it was a pretty accurate portrayal of what their life is like in the sequel series, All Grown Up. And when researching this spin-off, I watched Jordan Fringe's video, The Strange Rugrats spin-off that kind of worked, and it was so good that I had to ask him to help me cover this part of Chuckie's timeline, and luckily, he agreed. So hey Jordan.
Hi Lydia, thanks for having me on. I'm happy for any chance to put a spotlight on this underrated show. Now, the series All Grown Up ran from 2003 to 2008 and had a total of 5 seasons. It featured voice actors from the original series as well as several episodes that featured flashbacks from the original series, and so integrated itself well within the franchise. And a particularly nice detail was the Finsters running an internet cafe called the Java Lava Coffee House, a cafe that the babies spent many hours in and had been a business venture for Chaz and Kira since the original series in season 8. And catching up with a 12-year-old Chuckie Finster, he certainly wasn't afraid of monsters under his bed anymore, but he was still learning some valuable lessons that a 12-year-old would, like the scary world of impending puberty.
Oh, hi there.
He had also grown into a protective big brother to Kimmy. In season 1's Bad Kimmy, he's suspicious of her friend Z being a thief, but later realizes that Z was simply raising money for charity. This taught Chuckie another valuable lesson in not judging too quickly. But in season 5, he even grows suspicious again, but this time of his BFF Tommy having a crush on his sister Kimmy. This is sparked when he sees their initials carved onto the garage wall, and this causes a rift between them until Kimmy admits she was the one who carved their initials back when she was 9 years old and had a crush on Tommy. He suffered through more awkward situations when he created a persona called Chongo to impress his crush Nicole.
Hello, I am Chongo.
And if we've learned anything from TV, we know that creating new personas to impress is always sure to work out. But things worked out a little better for him a few episodes later when they overcome Little Q's hacky sack that has the power of Cupid's arrow, and so Chuckie gets to dance with Nicole at the Valentine's Day dance. Aww. But probably Chuckie's most memorable adventure in All Grown Up was in season 4's premiere, RV Having Fun Yet, when he's determined to get his first kiss. In the episode, the kids and their moms hit the road on a cross-country trip so Susie can sing at the Thanksgiving Day Parade in New York. So Chuckie searches all over the country for that first special smooch, even shooting his shot with an Amish girl, with her dad sitting right there. It seems that Chuckie's getting braver and braver every day, and just when all hope seems lost, Chuckie gets a surprise kiss from a parade participant, and his odyssey, it's complete. Overall, while All Grown Up didn't become as popular as its predecessor, it still remains a cult classic. Personally, I feel the best All Grown Up episodes took what we knew about the Rugrats and made it more relatable for an audience that had aged with the show, including viewers like you and I. Thanks for having me on, Lydia.
Thanks Jordan, and I agree. I love how the spin-offs still stay true to how the stories were set up in the Rugrats, but had them experienced now through a more mature mind. I mean, there's still stuff I'm learning about in my 20s, so this concept of going through a scary situation and overcoming it will always be relevant. Plus, this spin-off gave audiences exactly what we wanted, a chance to see the babies, well, all grown up. Now we just need to see them in college, at work, as parents, and what adventures and troubles that comes with. And so we've come to the end of the video. Write down below who your favourite Rugrats character is and what timeline you'd like to see next. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.